Good morning and welcome back. If you've been watching the headlines this week from Brussels to Berlin, you might be feeling a bit of whiplash. I certainly am. We are currently witnessing one of the most fascinating contradictions in the history of European tech policy. On one hand, the European Commission is sharpening its knives, preparing to carve up the dominance of US cloud giants with new antitrust probes. They are talking about gatekeepers and market investigations under the Digital Markets Act. It sounds like the fortress is being locked down. But on the other hand, we have reports leaking that the very same commission is planning to loosen data privacy rules and delay key parts of the AI Act to stop Europe from falling into technological irrelevance. So, which is it? Are we locking the gate or are we tearing down the walls? If you are a CTO or a CFO in Europe right now, this regulatory schizophrenia is your biggest risk and your biggest opportunity. Today, we are going to cut through the noise. We're going to look at the three most critical stories from this week that will impact your roadmap and your balance sheet. We'll cover the potential DMA designation for AWS and Azure and what that means for your multi-cloud leverage. We'll look at the panic pivot on AI regulation and why compliance whiplash is about to become a line item in your budget. And finally, we'll dig into the latest state of FinOps data, which suggests that while we were all watching the cloud, the real waste migrated to SaaS and licensing. My name is the EU engineer. Let's get to work. The Gatekeeper Trap, AWS and Azure under the microscope. Let's start with the heavy hitters. On Tuesday, the European Commission announced it is launching a market investigation to determine if Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure should be designated as gatekeepers under the Digital Markets Act or DMA. Now, for context, the DMA was originally designed for consumer platforms. Think the App Store, WhatsApp, or Google Search. It wasn't really built for B2B infrastructure. In fact, AWS and Azure technically don't meet the user number thresholds to be automatic gatekeepers, but the Commission doesn't care about the headcount anymore. They care about the lock-in. They are investigating whether these clouds act as important gateways that effectively trap European businesses in a proprietary ecosystem. The facts. The investigation will take about 12 months. If they are designated as gatekeepers, they would have 6 months to comply. Compliance would likely mean mandatory interoperability, a ban on self-preferencing their own tools. Imagine Azure not being allowed to run better on Windows than AWS, and potentially the complete removal of egress fees and switching barriers. The EU engineer opinion. So, what does this mean for us? If you are a CFO, you might be tempted to cheer. Great, the regulator is going to lower my prices. I would be careful. My analysis is that this investigation is less about lowering prices and more about forcing commoditization. The EU wants the cloud to be a utility. They want you to be able to lift and shift a workload from Frankfurt to Paris without rewriting a single line of code. That sounds like a dream, but in practice, it creates a massive strategic headache for the providers. If AWS and Azure are forced to open up their walled gardens, we will see two things happen. The complexity tax will shift to you. Right now, Azure makes things easy because everything integrates seamlessly. If regulations force them to unbundle those integrations to be fair to competitors, the integration burden falls on your engineering team. You might find that the easy button is now illegal. Price structure changes. If they can't lock you in with proprietary APIs, they will lock you in with long-term financial contracts. Expect to see aggressive 3 to 5 year commit deals being pushed hard in Q1 2025. They want to sign you up before the rules change. The strategic play. Use this uncertainty now. If you are negotiating an enterprise discount program or a Microsoft Enterprise Agreement in the next 6 months, use this investigation as leverage. Tell your account manager, I'm worried about this DMA investigation disrupting your service roadmap. I need more flexibility in my commit. I need a portability clause. You are effectively using the Commission's threat to buy yourself better terms today. Don't wait for the verdict. Trade on the uncertainty. The panic pivot on AI and GDPR. Now, let's flip the coin to the second story, which directly contradicts the first one. While the competition commissioners are tightening the screws, the innovation commissioners are hitting the panic button. Reports emerged late this week that the EU is planning to ease AI and data privacy rules to boost tech growth. We are hearing proposals to allow companies to access datasets more freely for AI training, delay the compliance deadline for high-risk AI systems by up to 16 to 18 months, simplify cookie consent rules to reduce banner fatigue. The facts. Why is this happening? Because the reality of the market is setting in. A recent report by Mario Draghi warned that Europe has fallen dangerously behind the US and China in innovation. We have regulated ourselves into a corner. Startups are fleeing to the US to train their models because they can't touch European data without a team of lawyers. The EU engineer opinion. This is what I call compliance whiplash. For the last 2 years, I have told you, and you have told your boards, that we need to spend millions preparing for the AI Act. We built governance committees. We hired data ethicists. We audited our models. And now, the Commission is saying, actually, never mind. Take another 18 months. We need you to grow. On one hand, this is good news. It lowers the barrier to entry for building RAG, retrieval augmented generation, apps, and internal LLMs. It means we can potentially use customer data for fine-tuning without the terrifying fear of a GDPR fine. But on the other hand, it creates a dangerous vacuum. If you pause your compliance program now, you risk being caught flat-footed when the political winds change again. The strategic play. Here is my advice for the CIOs listening. Do not dismantle your AI governance team. Instead, rebrand it. Stop calling it compliance. Start calling it data quality. The work you do to clean your data, catalog it, and secure it for the AI Act is the exact same work you need to do to make your AI models actually work. Dirty data creates hallucinations. Clean, governed data creates value. Use this regulatory delay not to stop working, but to shift the focus from avoiding fines to improving performance. Also, keep an eye on the sovereign cloud partnerships. We saw SAP partner with Microsoft this week to strengthen European digital resilience. The trend isn't European software on European hardware. It's American software on European terms. This deregulation push confirms that Europe realizes it cannot build its own AI ecosystem from scratch. It has to integrate with the US giants, just with better guardrails. The 2025 FinOps reality check, Cloud Plus and the AI bubble. Finally, let's look at the money. The state of FinOps data for 2025 is trickling out, and combined with the Q3 earnings reports, it paints a stark picture. First, the market dynamics. AWS is under pressure. While still the leader, their growth is being outpaced by Azure and Google Cloud. The dominance is fracturing. We are moving toward a true tri-poly market in Europe. But the more interesting data comes from the FinOps Foundation's latest priorities. For the first time, managing costs beyond public cloud has jumped 5 places in priority. The facts: we are seeing a massive shift toward Cloud Plus FinOps. This means teams are no longer just looking at EC2 and S3. They are being asked to manage SaaS spend, up 25% in priority, and software licensing. At the same time, financial markets in Europe took a hit this week over renewed AI bubble fears. Investors are asking, where is the revenue? We are spending billions on GPUs, but the productivity gains aren't showing up on the P&L yet. The EU engineer opinion. Here is the hard truth. The easy money in cloud FinOps is gone. 5 years ago, you could walk into a company, buy a few reserved instances, turn off some idle servers, and save 20%. You looked like a hero. Today, that low-hanging fruit has been picked. The waste has migrated. The waste is now hiding in SaaS sprawl. It's hiding in that Datadog contract that grows 10% every month. It's hiding in the Salesforce licenses for users who left the company 6 months ago. And it is hiding in AI token costs. The AI bubble fear is valid because we are treating AI like a science project, not a product. We are tracking innovation, not unit economics. If you cannot tell me the cost per transaction of your Gen AI feature, you are part of the bubble. The strategic play. For 2025, you need to expand your FinOps scope immediately. Audit your SaaS. Don't just look at the AWS bill. Look at the credit card statements. I guarantee you have shadow-eyed SaaS subscriptions that are bleeding you dry. Unit economics for AI. Before you approve that next GPU cluster or OpenAI enterprise contract, force your team to define the ROI. If we spend €1 on tokens, do we save €2 in labor, or do we generate €3 in revenue? If the math doesn't work, kill the project. The market is punishing companies that can't do this math. Conclusion: the year of sovereign efficiency. To wrap up, let's synthesize these 3 stories. We have the EU investigating the cloud giants to break their lock-in. We have the EU softening AI rules to encourage growth. And we have a financial market demanding proof that this tech spend is actually worth it. The theme for 2025 is sovereign efficiency. It's not just about being sovereign, keeping data in Europe. And it's not just about being efficient, cutting costs. It's about doing both. You need the flexibility to move workloads thanks to the DMA. You need the agility to deploy AI thanks to the deregulation. And you need the discipline to control the costs of the entire stack, not just the servers. The winners this year won't be the ones with the biggest budgets. They will be the ones with the cleanest data, the most flexible contracts, and the tightest grip on their unit economics. As always, check the show notes for links to the reports we discussed today. I'm the EU engineer. Keep your latency low and your margins high.